Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our January Lunch and Learn, our kickoff Lunch and Learn for 2015. And our alignment is not factored today, and lunch isn't here yet, and it will be here. So we will take a break at some point in the morning or in the session. Carl, you'll handle that and deal with it appropriately. Our next Lunch and Learn is going to be Friday, February 20th. We are now shifting to the third Friday of the month. From this point forward, it ties in nicely with the chamber. It was a morning event. You can go back to your office for an hour or so, load all your cards, and then come here for the Lunch and Learn. Same suit. It'll work out fine.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh my God. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's January 9th. Happy New Year, everyone. You seem ecstatic for the new year. Really do. Like, wow, I can't wait. Let me at them, right? Well, we're going to talk today a little bit about a concept called maximizing your 480. All right? We'll talk about what 480 is, how do you apply it, and I want to give you some tools to maximize your 480 as much as possible throughout the course of this coming year. So hopefully, you could take what we've learned today and you can do what 96% of the population will not do as of next Friday. Okay? I was doing a little bit of research prior to coming here, and two numbers kept coming up very frequently. The number 4%. Okay? As of January 15th, nearly 96% of all people who set a New Year's resolution will have quit. Interestingly enough, according to Forbes magazine, according to the Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish, only 4% of businesses will ever reach $1 million in revenue annually or more. I found that to be an interesting correlation. So the people in this room, you still got a shot. You still got it. You can hang in there, you know. Now, statistically, if 4% of the population will stick to their New Year's resolutions and become $1 million business or more, that means one of you in this room will do it. The rest won't. See you guys later. P-Pack Gladstone, you guys are up next. All right. So Ken and I were actually talking beforehand, and one of the things that Ken said, which is so true, is time is your most precious commodity. And if you think about it, we are all given the same 480 minutes every single day of the work week. Every day. Imagine this exercise for a second. This is what we're going to go through to show you how you can maximize your time. Is imagine every morning I deposited 480 minutes in your bank account. You have to use them today. You cannot. There's no rollover minutes. We're not T-Mobile or anyone else. You have to use them today. You have to maximize them. Every minute lost is wasted. You never get it back. And so today we're going to talk about how well are you using your 480 minutes. Right? So that's the one part of that. And you'll see on your handout, we're going to do a few exercises. This is going to be very interactive today, where you're going to get a chance to work with the person next to you or the people around you on how you're going to maximize your time. And this isn't just how do I make me better. This is also how do I maximize the 480 of all the minutes of 480 minutes of all the people that surround me, meaning the stakeholders in your job. If the person that you work with hand in hand. So if you're a salesperson, you're a sales coordinator. If you're the business owner, you're working with an assistant or your executive team. If you're an executive or a manager, you're working with maybe people that are working on the line. Or you might be working with outsourced contractors. So your ability to have the best year ever is going to be your ability to leverage your 480 minutes plus the 480 minutes of the people that are around you. Sound fair enough? Okay. All right. Now, so some of you already have a bit of a sad look on your face, like, oh boy, I had no idea I was walking into this one today, or haven't done that one quite as well. I think about it. Think about people who have what you want in business. What are they doing differently? What were they given that you weren't given? Oh, well, they had more money. They had more capital. Maybe. But they still have to deal, what percentage of lottery winners still have 10% of their winnings 15 years later? Who knows? I think it's 15%. It's under 20% of lottery winners, when handed millions of dollars, 15 years later. So here's another way of explaining this. So if you won the lottery and did nothing with your money for 15 years, it would probably double and then double again. Just if you just put it into most basic investments. But it would at least double once. But they have 15% of their original winnings. So you could say, well, they got more money. Well, people win the lottery all day long, and they end up broke-er 15 years later than when they had the money. So it's not the money. What are they doing that you're not doing? Or what are they doing better than you're doing right now? They are maximizing their time, and they are leveraging the time, the 480 minutes of the people around them. So think about, so that's going to be, I'll let that rattle around for a minute. And just in case you were, Chris said our alignment wasn't factored in today. That's not totally true. This whole lunch thing. I called up Chris and I told him this whole 4% concept. And I said, what is one of the top resolutions people have every year? What is it? Lose weight. So we thought we'd hold back lunch. Good plan? All right, so the 4% Club, are you a member? My hope is that, now listen, I'm not saying earning $1 million a year or more annual revenue is even your goal, or it's the right goal. It's just the point that there is a milestone that very few businesses ever make it to. And they have a number of things in common. And one of those things is that they set goals and they keep their goals. How many of you have ever read or heard about the Yale study of 1952, where they had the graduating class write down all of their goals, and then they tracked them for 30 years, and they interviewed them 10, 20, 30 years later, and they found out that group, that 3% that wrote down their goals, was worth more than the other 97% of the graduating class combined. How many of you have ever heard of that? None of you ever heard of that study? That's good, because it's been an internet myth. It's actually not true. Okay? It was in Zig Ziglar's book, Tony Robbins' book. It was one of the most quoted goal studies in the world. And then somebody called Yale and said, hey, can we actually get the study? It's pretty interesting. And Yale said, it'd be interesting to us too if we knew what the heck you were talking about. No clue. And so this whole thing about why writing your goals down works and helps you accelerate your success, there was no real empirical proof until this study was done. So this study was, if you look here, there's 5 characteristics of what happens when you set goals. One group was told, don't even write your goals down. Don't even write them down. Just have an idea in your mind and go for it. And how many of your goals do you achieve? Number 2, they said write your goals down. Just write them down, not actions. Just write down the goal. Okay? Group number 3 was said write your goals down and write down the actions. Number 4 was write your goals down, have actions, and then commit to a friend. Hey, I'm going to lose that 5 pounds. I'm going to manage my time better. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to make those extra sales calls, whatever. Then the last group was writing a progress report or answering to another person who you either had emotional or business leverage with you. Meaning it's somebody that you wouldn't want to disappoint or somebody who controlled your paycheck. Right? Now, interestingly enough, what they found out was the group that just had unwritten goals, they still achieved. Right? But then take the group that wrote down their goals, they achieved 50% more. Interestingly enough, those that wrote their goals down and wrote their actions and that's it, actually achieved less than those that didn't write their actions down. Okay, so I know a number of you, I'm sure, sat down and said, okay, here's my goals and here's what I want to do. Then you stuffed it in your pocket. I could have saved you the time of writing out the actions because your chance of achieving is actually less the moment you wrote the actions down. Now, you did all that work and that's excellent. Now let's go to the third group. They wrote their goals down and they wrote down their actions, right? Now let's take those, now make a public commitment. A a public commitment. And it doesn't mean that you have to post it on a billboard, although you can. But essentially, you take one of your goals and you tell someone else about it. Pick up the phone and you say, you know what? I've been meaning to paint the house. I'm going to paint the house this year. And if you see that I don't have the house painted, you have my permission to give me crap about it. Right? Or you say, we've been meaning to redecorate the living room. And then hasn't been done, so you schedule a party in the living room. And a room you would never want to have anyone in there. And you say, you know what? We're having it in there, which means we are going to have to renovate that room and get it ready for that whenever that day is. Well, you make a commitment, okay? Right? Now, the fourth, so you make a commitment to a friend. But the one that's the most telling is when you have to report your progress to another person that matters to you or has leverage over you. Now, you do that in your boards to a certain degree, right? This is about accountability, right? And one of the ways that you can ensure that you are giving yourself the best chance to make it as far through the year and achieve the goals that you've set out is to make sure that you are reporting to another person. And we're going to talk a little bit about the relationship between the key decision maker and the direct report today. That's one of the vehicles that you'll be able to use. You commit to them, they commit to you. You report back and forth to them throughout the course of the year. That will give you the best chance, almost 100% better chance than somebody who has not written down their goals. How would you like to have that advantage over the rest of your competition? Some of you would not like to have that advantage over your competition. How many of you would like to have that advantage? All right. So it went back a long time ago. One of the lessons I learned in goal setting was a very interesting experience that I had. I went to a seminar, a personal development seminar in 1990. And the seminar was held by Tony Robbins, and it was a weekend seminar. You walk on fire, you learn all about personal development and goals and all these things. Well, they do this one exercise where they play Simon Says, right? And so Tony Robbins is the facilitator. He's on the main stage. There's about 1,000 people in the room, and he says, we're going to play Simon Says. So take a second. You have your little workbook. Write down what would you like to get out of this exercise. Write down your goal. And my goal at the time, I remember, was have fun. Just want to have fun. Here's a game. Just have some fun, right? Everyone else wrote their goal down. You told the person next to you, what are you here for? I want to have fun. You go back and forth. So we start the game. Simon says, do this, right? Takes out a whole bunch of people. And I remember very early in the game, I was having fun. I'm like, wow, doing very good. Sit down, do my whole thing. And then he said, do this. And I did that. And he goes, anyone who just did this, sit down. Simon didn't say to do this. I'm like, man. So I sat down. And at first it was like, yeah, all right. Then after about 30 seconds of watching the game, I'm like, this isn't fun anymore. But I realized I got my goal. And I watched for the next 45 minutes while the rest of everyone else played the game. And I sat my ass down in the chair not having fun. And it bothered me. And it was interesting because about 20 people out of 1,000 made it to the stage. At the last 20 contestants, he said, all right, you last 20, come up to the stage. And a bunch of people started running. Ha! Simon didn't say, you're gone. Now, Simon says, whoever's left, come to the stage. Those people came to the stage. And they battled it out for a while. And there was every time, I've seen this game played now over the last 25 years. Every time, the people that are at the end usually ends up in like a stalemate. No one actually wins. There's like usually 3 or 4 people that just are really rock on. And at the end, he would ask, let me take a sample from the audience. What were your goals for this game? And I was like, have fun, do this. And then somebody said, I wanted to be on the stage. And they got to the stage. But there was always about 3 or 4 people that said, I want to win. And one of the things I realized, so I went to that seminar in 1990. I was so pissed about getting knocked out of the game. I went back in 91 just to play the damn game. And I remember the next year I had the goal, I don't know what I was thinking, but I had the goal to get on the stage. So I was in the final 20. And I remember walking up the stairs. So we said, Simon Says, let everyone who's left come up to the stage. So I'm walking up. I'm like, I'm going to make it to the stage. It's great. I remember walking up the steps. I put my foot on the stage. Robbins comes up to me and says, Carl, step to the side. There's a lady that's coming up. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And he looks at me and goes, ha ha, gotcha, you're gone. Bitch. So I walk back to my seat and I'm thinking about it and I know what's coming because I was just here last year. The last 20 people, 19 people now, fought it out, 3 or 4 were left. He asked, who actually had the goal to win? The last 4 contestants were like, I did. And it was a stalemate. Like he was doing his best and these people wouldn't move. They were so locked in. And one of the things that I learned is that there's so little competition to actually be number 1. And everyone else is competing for every other place. So when we go through our exercises, in the conversations I've had over the last few years with business owners, the last 5 years have been brutal, right? The last 5 years have taken a lot out of all of us. We've had to work double to get half the result just to survive. Some of you are employing your competition because they're out of business now, or you've got their clientele, or you bought them for a song. We all know what the last 5 years were like, right? A lot of the business owners that I talk to, I'm like, what's your main problem? They're like, I'm exhausted. Okay? So I understand. I feel that. Okay? I go through the same thing too in my business. But one of the things that what I'm here to remind you of is that there is so little competition for the top. And everybody's competing for everything else. So think about that when you're going through your exercises. If there was a goal that you thought, I really want this goal, but the last 5 years have beaten you up a little bit, and you're like, oh my God, are we really going to go after that again? I'm telling you, there's nobody up there going for it. Nobody. Everybody else is going for all the same crap you're going for. So if you actually want a path of lesser resistance, go for that goal that you had a dream for about 4 or 5 years ago, that you may have tempered down a little bit. You follow what I'm saying? Okay? All right. Everyone good with that? All right. Now, I've seen that Simon Says game like 20 times since then, and it's the same thing every single time, but it was such a great lesson. All right, so here's what we're going to do is, first on your handout, on the right side, number 1 is, what is one decision you're going to make for the new year? Here's your chance. You may have either already made this decision, or I'm not that goal resolution person. I don't like to do that. I don't believe in that arbitrary calendar event that makes me have to reevaluate my life or business. Get over it for the next 45 minutes. Let's cut a decision now, and let's just use this artificial opportunity to create something that is a little bit better than what we have already. Okay? So what's one decision? You don't have to put 50 there if you don't want. Just one thing. Let's make one thing happen that you're going to commit to this year. So take a moment, write down what's one decision you're going to make for the new year. Is it a goal? Is it something you're going to do more of? Is it something you're going to do less of? Something you're going to do more frequently? Something you're going to let go of? Is it a material possession? Is it a habit or a pattern that you're going to do more of or less of? Take a second, make sure you write at least one down. If you're not sure, like, well, I was contemplating these 2 or 3 things, just write the 2 or 3 things down. And we'll figure those out later. What's one decision for the new year? I'll use myself as an example. I was reading about gluten, so I didn't like what I was reading, so I decided to minimize gluten for this year. I was going to go gluten-free, but then I realized it's in like everything. So I've got some more research to do. I thought I could cut out, here's what I thought. I don't eat pizza, pasta, bread, and I'm good. Right, and that's what I found out over the last 2 weeks. It's in everything that I ever consume. So I got rid of those 3 things. So now I'm a non-gluten enthusiast. I'm not quite there yet. But already I feel the difference. So that was one for me. One was non-gluten. The other one was I wanted to take my speaking and presentation to the next level. So I joined the National Speakers Association. And they have a certain certification. I'm going to go for that this year. So those are a couple for me. What are some for you? Turn to your neighbor, give them a high five, say, welcome to group 2. We need the high five. Group 2. All right. So now, so we have, if you have more than one, let's pick one of those. See how you have written goals, written actions, commit to a friend, and a progress report. So here's our exercise. What is one action you're going to take on that decision? What's one action you're going to take? And who are you going to commit to? Who are you, when we're done today, or it could be the person in the room, who are you going to call, email, text message, broadcast, social media post, and tell that person, this is what I'm doing this year, please hold me accountable. So what's one action, and who are you going to commit to? All right? And if you're struggling with who should I commit to, look to your right or left and make that person your accountability partner. If I were you, I would choose somebody that would revel in your failure. I mean, someone would be like, like they would post it. Like if you said to your top competitor, I want to lose 5 pounds, and 6 months from now you've gained 10, they'd follow you around like paparazzi and take photos. Like, hey, look at Carl plus 10. Remember earlier in the year he said he was going to be -5, he's plus 10. I'll keep you posted. Right? That's the kind of person you want to commit to. Or somebody you disappoint. Like one of your kids. Go tell them you're going to do this. 6 months later they say, hey, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, whatever. Did you do it? No. Why not? Well, blah, 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 and that's the way that explanation would go. You want to commit to somebody else. Everybody have that down? Turn to your neighbor, tell them what, and it could be a group of 3 if there's 3 at your table. Take a second, tell them what your decision is, what one action you're going to take, and who are you going to commit to, and then give yourself a minute each, and we'll spend a couple minutes on this and make sure that you make that commitment and tell them your plan. And go. So let me ask you a question. The thing that you wrote down, is it the very first time you've ever thought of that thing ever in your life? Or has it been on your mind? What has prevented you from achieving that goal in the past? Like, what are some reasons why?
Lack of time.
Lack of time? Okay.
Lack of will.
Lack of will? Sure.
I rationalize it away.
Rationalize it away?
Clarity.
Clarity? Lack of clarity, like exactly what do I do next and how do I go about it? Head trash. Life gets in the way. You know, what's interesting is, outside of work, we have time for 2 extracurricular activities. That's really it. So if you go to work and your kids are on the sports team and you're part of the church group or PTA, that's it. Everything else has you have so little bandwidth for. Okay? And so that's what part of this presentation is the concept of the KDM versus the DR. If you've made a decision today, you're the key decision maker. And the program I'll talk to you about at the end, called the alignment factor, is based on how to build better business leaders and management systems around the relationship specifically between the key decision maker and the direct report. Now, every one of you plays both roles. If you're the owner of the business, you're the key decision maker to your reports, well, you're also the direct report to your client. If you work in a company, you might be a key decision maker because you make certain decisions during the course of the day, but then there are people that report to you. We play both roles. Your ability to achieve this goal this year will be how well do you manage this dynamic. Because one of the main, think about it, you wrote down your activity, right? How much time is it going to take? What's that? We set a date to have to do it by. We're not really sure how we're going to get there, but we are sure going to arrive, right? Now we've got to figure out, you have to have some things drop off, and you have to add some things, most likely, in order for you to hit that goal. Whether it's an organizational goal, we want to increase our sales by 20%. All right, how are we going to allocate the resources? How are we going to maximize the relationships we have already? How are we going to get there, right? So think about this for a second. Here's where leveraging the 480 minutes of the people around you comes into play. But before you can do that, you just added another thing to an already full plate. You all have jobs, you all have businesses, you all have lives. And if you're involved in 2 things outside of work, like going to the gym and, I'm part of a book study group, whatever, that's it. Whatever you wrote down for, I promise you, you don't have time for. That's it. Again, see you later. All right? So what you need to do is you need to free up some of your time right now. Okay, so question number 2 is, what are your time wasters? And here's how we define a time waster. What are some of the things that you do during the course of the day, at work or at play, either way, right, that do not require your core competency, your highest level of skill to accomplish? Here's what I mean. One of my clients says to me, I said, he's like, oh, he goes, I can't meet during that time. I'm running to the bank. I said, oh, what for? You signing some papers? You applying for something? Like, what are you going? No, I'm just dropping off the deposits and I'm just going to grab lunch on the way back. I said, oh, are you like going somewhere to have lunch? No, picking up a sandwich. I'll eat it at my desk. I said, so how long does that circle take? He goes, well, I do it 3 times a week. It's about a half an hour. I said, why are you going to the bank? He goes, well, these checks were written to me. I want to make sure they get in the bank. I said, no, they're not. They're written to the business. And there's only one place this check can go, which is deposited in your account. There's no other place it could go. Why does this require you to go there? And he was like, well, I just want to make sure it's done. He had no real good answer. But it does. You get that it doesn't require his core competency, his being a business owner and a manager and a highly technical professional to go to the bank. He doesn't need to do it. We all have those. And we also have the head trash that goes around with it that says, oh, I've got to be the one that does that. Right? So take a moment. Where are your time wasters? At least 3. I promise you, you have 3. What are some things that you're doing that do not require your core competency to accomplish? Even if you're thinking, well, there's no one else in the business to do it, that's cool, just write it down. It is, by definition, a waste of your time. Certainly a waste of your talent. I was talking to one of my clients, and they're doing their annual picnic. And I'm in the office, and we're having a meeting, and the phone rings. And he picks it up, and he's like, well, I want to make sure we get this shot, and I want to make sure this doesn't happen. And it hangs up. I said, who are you talking to? He said, well, the photographer for the annual picnic. I said, isn't the annual picnic like tomorrow? He's like, yeah, but there's a few things I wanted to button up. I said, what do you have to button up? Like, who's doing the photographs? Like your cousin? No, we hired this photography studio. I'm like, oh, this is good. So you are telling the professional photographer how to set up the shot, because that's what I heard. Make sure we really get that, and that's got to be in the, and I said, you're telling the professional? I said, what qualifies you to manage the professional photographer? He said, well, I just know what I want. I said, yeah, but you have no clue how to manage a professional photographer. This is more than a waste of your time. More than a waste of your time, all right? Okay, I'll give you one more. If you think whatever you wrote down is so important, let me break it down for you. Think about for a second, just write down roughly, what your annual expenses are to run your business. So if you do $500,000 and it costs me like $300,000 to run this thing, just write down approximately $300,000. Okay? Pardon me? Even if it's unrelated to what's on here. I want to help you understand what a minute of your time wasted actually costs you. One of our clients, whenever we work with a company, we break down what does it cost to run your business per year, per month, per week, per day, per hour, per minute. We're sitting in a meeting, and we're about to start a meeting, about 12 people around the room. Somebody says, oh, it was a Monday. Oh, totally forgot. I didn't tell you about the skiing trip I went over the weekend. I said, how long do you think this is going to take? He said, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. I said, well, it's $34 per minute to run this business. Throw $150 on the table, then tell us a story. He was like, I'll wait. I'll hold on to that one. But understand, think about it for a second. What does it take? You don't have to do all the math right now. Write down what are your annual expenses divided by 2,000. That will tell you what every hour of your time is wasted. Basically. Accountants don't get too hung up on that one. All right? Well, yeah, Carl, but you haven't figured in amortization. Okay, good. Give me a break on this one. Just trying to make a point. All right? If Larry were to do all the calculations for you, he would tell you exactly what it costs per minute to run your business. The point being is you have to understand how much time you are wasting and how much money of your own or your firm's company you are wasting when you waste a minute, even a minute of your time. And today is not about getting back hours and hours and hours, but if you just got back 15 minutes, 30 minutes a day, that would be tremendous, and it's easy. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. So what are some of the time wasters you came up with? What is something that you just have to do, or at least you think you have to do? Manage my household. That's a good one. I like that one. Formatting our e-newsletter. Very good. I like that one. What are some others that you have? Let's enjoy them, guys, because they are that silly. Now that we've been talking about it, you're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't do this. What's that? Spending time in traffic, okay. Chasing people for incomplete timesheets. I like that one. That's really good. Hey, where's my paycheck? Oh, I'll send it to you as soon as you send me your timesheet. What? Yeah, well, yeah, but it's in my car. Great. Well, when you bring it in, I'll process it with the next batch, which will be in 3 weeks. All right, cool. What are some others? What are some things that you think you have to be doing and you realize it really is not your highest level of core competency?
Writing promotional emails.
Writing? Reading promotional emails.
Writing proposals.
Writing proposals, right? Just think about it. Think about there's a risk reward in everything. What's the ROI? What we want to do is we want to take one of those, just one. Let's just get one of those time wasters off your calendar. All right? Take one of those off. So circle any one of them and say, I'm going to get rid of this one or I'm going to minimize it. Because that's going to give you the bandwidth to do whatever it is you wrote in number 1. If you don't take one thing off of your calendar, I promise you, after doing 75,000 coaching sessions, I promise you, you will not follow through on what you just wrote down. If you don't take something off your plate, because your plate's full. Make sense? Okay? All right. Now, let's talk about this relationship between the key decision maker and the direct report. The key decision maker is somebody who has either ultimate authority in a business or simply has budget authority in some part of the business, or is somebody who can influence a decision. Right? I remember we were working with a company in Denville, and I was supposed to meet with the owner, and I was taught, if the owner doesn't show, you never meet with anyone else. So I remember getting there, and I met the lady who was the director of operations, and I said, I'm supposed to meet with Anthony. And the receptionist rolled her eyes like, Anthony's not here. I said, did he know about the appointment? He probably did. So the director of operations came out and she said, it's okay, Carl, we can meet. I said, really? I was supposed to meet with Anthony. She goes, don't worry. Whatever it is we're going to talk about, if I like it, we're going to do it. And I'm like, Sharon, we're going to meet. Right? And I met with Sharon. So that's a person, call them a key influencer or a key decision maker, but that's the person that can make something happen. The direct report is the person who is most likely going to be tasked with the implementation of that decision. Make sense? Very basic, give and take. Now, who has the harder job? Key decision maker, direct report. Who has the harder job? Almost always the direct report. Because they almost always have to manage in multiple directions. I have to manage up, I have to manage down, I have to manage sideways. Right? So for those, is everybody here a TAB member? You guys all TAB members? You guys, okay, other than PPAC, Gladstone back. All right, so here's the thing. I'm part of these networking groups too, and we'll, you sit down with business owners and we get all these great ideas, and then we go back to our businesses and we say, ha, just went to the lunch and learn. Boy, do I have some great ideas. And the team is like, oh, I hate it when you go to these things. Your New Year's resolution. We didn't put in place the last set of bad ideas, and now you came home with a new set of bad ideas. We didn't even get to the last set. Right? So the real power in these groups is when you can trickle it down to the people in your organization, right? And some of you have bought people from your company or multiple people from the same company. So that's what this alignment factor program is all about, is getting these ideas and these decisions out of your head, off of your paper, and actually into the hands of the people that can do the work better than you. Okay? So how many of you have ever said, I need to do this because no one else in the company can do it as good as me? You ever say that? Okay? I know I've said it. And you're right. Nobody in your company can do it as good as you. But half of the people in the company can do it better than you if you would just let go of it. All right? You're right. No one is as good as you, but half that room is better than you at that task. All right? So we want to get that task off of our plate. Okay. Let's do number 3. So you've taken some time off of your plate, hopefully. You have a key decision you've made. You have an action you're going to take, and you've even committed to somebody. Now, you need to build around you your direct reports. Who are the people or the resources that you can surround yourself with? Who are the people and the resources you can surround yourself with to make sure that what you took off your plate stays off your plate, or what you need to get off your plate gets off your plate to them, or they can assist you in creating in realizing the goal that that you've written down. So you're going to create, this is like creating your team, your direct reports, the stakeholders in your job. They don't have to work for you. They can work with you. They can even be above you. But who are the direct reports? Perfect example. My wife and I built our house in 2008, and one of my goals was, I'm tired of laundry. I grew up, I was one of 10 kids, and one of my jobs as a kid was doing the laundry. And I remember one of my mother's friends comes over to the house one day and says, "Oh my God, look at all the clothes." And I said, well, this is kind of what, and all the clothes filled our dining room table. And I said, well, you've been here before. You've seen us do the laundry. She goes, no, I can't believe it. It's only the socks. We had enough socks to fill the dining room table, and that was my job. So when we built our house, I said to my wife, I said, listen, here's my goal. I don't want to do laundry again. So there happened to be this valet service that does the laundry. 7 years ago, I still haven't bought a washer and dryer for our house. Someone says, hey, listen, they were over our house. I'm like, oh, I got this wet. Can you dry it? I'm like, hang it up. We don't have a dryer. I said, you don't have a dryer? I said, I never got around to it. They're like, how'd you pull that one off? I said, well, we use a valet service. And they're like, honey, we got to get us one of those. I just never got around to it. Okay? So I have a valet launderer. What do they do? What do they call them? I don't even know what they call them. I have the place where I drop my laundry off. They're a direct report to me. They're right next to the dry cleaning. So I have a number of custom chefs that prepare all of my meals exactly the way they want them. Now, I don't have to carry their expenses because they already own a restaurant, and I've told them exactly what the kind of meals our family likes. They've become our direct reports. So when I call the Chinese restaurant, they don't have the broccoli and tofu and garlic sauce with all the ingredients that we like on the menu, because that's one that we have special. You know, we said this is exactly the way we want it. You willing to make it? We're willing to buy it. And so we've created these resources around us. Make sense? Who are your direct reports going to be? In your business? Perfect example. We did this with one of our clients in their sales team. We went to a buddy system on the sales team where they share sales commission. They had a goal to have more transactions, increase the level of the transaction. And by going to a buddy system, they're actually selling more and making more, even though they're splitting commissions. So they made their colleagues their direct reports. Does that make sense? You can do it any way you want. Who are your direct reports going to be? You want to write down at least 3. And if you're really struggling with this one, look at the next one. It says, who will become your direct reports? Meaning, well, let's build this team if you don't have it already. Build the team if you don't have it already. Take another minute, and then you're going to share your plan with your neighbor. Who are your direct reports? Even if you're on the organizational chart, the lowest person in the organization, you can still have people that you can leverage to. I remember when I had my first job as a landscaper, I was the guy who raked the ground and rolled the sod. I was black by the end of the day. I mean, I had the manual job. But then there was always someone who came in after me. And they would say, Carl, how do you do this? And I'll say, all right, well, here's what I would normally be doing, but if I'm doing that, I can't teach you how to do what you just asked me. So you're going to do this for me, and I'll show you the ropes. See what I mean? It's hard to get promoted unless you have somebody under you. So I would look for people I could put under me as soon as possible, so they say, wow, Carl did such a great job explaining this to me. I'm like, don't I do a good job explaining? And then I moved one step up. So even if you're at the lowest, on the organizational chart, at the lowest level, who else can you enlist? Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on this part, by the way?
What if you're a solo entrepreneur?
What if you're a solo entrepreneur? Great question. So if you're a solo entrepreneur, you're more than likely going to use outsourced resources. So 2 years ago, we had 4 full-time employees in our office. Right? One of the ladies moved out of the area and she left. And we had created, we thought, such a good system that we said, you know, all she does is come in and do all of her work through the computer. So we went to a virtual assistant, and it worked, right? And then somebody else who had been in the business for about 8 years moved on to another job, and we said, what if we could turn them into a virtual assistant? So now we have 6 virtual assistants who have now replaced the 4 in-office employees, and they're all independent contractors. They have become our direct reports, right? And so you can leverage other resources that you use on a regular basis. share your vision of where and what you're trying to accomplish as a company. Give them a way to regular channel of communication. Like we set them up with email addresses and other, shared Google Drive folders, and we manage them that way, as if they were in the office. So the same way, if you're a solo entrepreneur, you're more than likely working with either other solopreneurs or you're working with your outsourced contractors that you use on a regular basis. Does that answer your question? Cool. So, all right, so take a second. Same team that you had before. Share your plan with the people around you. Take 1 minute. You've already talked about the action you're going to take for this year, what you've cleared off your plate. Now, tell them about how you're going to go about it. Build your team of direct reports or share who your direct reports are with the team that you were talking about before. 1 minute, and then we'll switch, okay? And go. Okay, so I've heard some words like, yes, I need to leverage. Yes, I need to delegate. Yes, I need to get this off my plate, okay? And you're absolutely right. You do need to do that. So what is one example? I told you a couple of my direct reports, the guy that owns the Chinese restaurant, my launderer, personal launderer, and my dry cleaner. What are some, and my virtual assistants, what are some other direct reports you either have or you're going to create for yourself? A couple examples.
I've had a milkman for years.
Milkman for years, all right.
Project manager.
Project managers, very good. One more, this side of the room.
Branches I work with.
Branches I work with, excellent.
We do spreadsheets and charts.
Pardon me?
Spreadsheets and charts.
Spreadsheets and charts. Start using the technology you have to, a bit more. No question about it. Okay, great.
He wants to delegate that.
He wants to. Oh, you want to delegate it? All right. Okay, good. So we'll delegate that part. All right. I get it. I get it. When you go to speaking school, they say, feel the energy in the room, and I can feel the calories dropping off, guys. Just dropping off.
Food's still coming.
Food's on its way. All right. So here's the number one thing that will help you achieve your goals for this coming year. Number one thing that you can do this year is how well do you manage the relationship between direct report to key decision maker. Key decision maker to direct report. It is the number one thing you can do because you don't have time to do what you wrote down. You're going to have to leverage other resources and other people. You're going to have to clear your plate a little bit and have to you can't just say, well, I'm not doing the spreadsheets anymore. No more graphs for me. And then when it's not done, guess who's going to run back and do it? You. And guess what you're going to stop doing? Well, I can't go to the gym because I'm doing the spreadsheets and the graphs. Right? You're going to have to be able to hand it off to somebody and have them follow through. So TAB has created a program. It was created some years ago, and they have re-energized this program called the Alignment Factor. And it is a 12-month program, or 12-session program, I should say, that helps you and your team, you the key decision maker and you the direct report, create the systems and the processes to make sure that you are implementing efficiently and effectively on the goals that you set out as a company. And so I'm going to be working with Chris in order to grow this initiative in the area. When this was first written, the idea was this would be great for companies with 10 employees or more. And it was, and still is. But now, in the new world we live in, where you have a lot of outsourced contractors, where you are a solo entrepreneur or a micro business, right? This is every bit as relevant for that size company because even though if you're on your own, you still have a network of people that you work with, right? So normally this program would be for companies that have 10 employees or more or have a division of a company, 10 employees or more. What we are going to do this year, do it permanently, but what we're starting this year is we're going to run a monthly public program for any size company to come. So if you're a solo entrepreneur, you want to come to this program and bring whoever your key person is or key contractor, you can do that. You don't have to bring 10 people. You don't have to have a 10-person firm or more to come to it. Right? And what we're going to do is we're going to run one public session every single month. Normally, the way this program works is if your firm would purchase this program, either you would come to us or we would come to you, and however many people that you had for that, that you wanted to go through the program, we would come and put on the session, or you would come to us for a, for a training outside the office. And that's how it would work. It's mostly for private consumption. We're doing it publicly to allow, so you don't have to fill the room on your own. There might be 2 or 3 from this company, 2 or 3 from that company, and on and on and on. Okay? And so we are going to hold our first session on January 26th. It'll be from 1 to 4, and the format is this. It's about 2.5 hours. The way it works is there'll be a facilitator type like me, and in this case, it will be me. I'll do the introduction. There'll be a topic. You'll have a handbook and a workbook. You'll be here with you and key members of your team, right? You and at least your direct report, or if you're the direct report, you get your manager, your key decision maker or manager here. And then we're going to play a video by one of the subject matter experts for about an hour, and then I'm going to facilitate the exercises. So it'll be very much like today, where you'll work together as a group to make sure that you are putting these systems and processes into place. So you can take what you've learned at your board, you can take what you've learned from other advisors you might be working with, and you can actually get it to the people in an effective and an efficient way that can make sure that they implement on the program. Does that make sense? So January 26th from 1 to 4, we're offering this, this session at no cost. All right? It's normally $395 per seat per person. It's at no cost. So you could bring anyone and everyone that you'd like. All right? And we're going to do the first session of the 12 sessions. All right? So you have a second sheet of paper. You had your handout, and then there was what looks like a feedback form on the second page. And also Chris has handed out some information on the program if you'd like to read a little bit more about it. But on the second page where it says maximizing your 480, if there's some feedback you'd like to give us on today's presentation, please do so, and I'll make sure Chris gets that. Number 2 is, if you'd like to hear more about the alignment factor, just let me know how to contact you and I can explain it in more depth, right? And how it could work for you and how it would relate to your particular business. But number 3 is, we're going to have this open session on January 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. Chris, will that be here?
Yes.
That'll be here. So it'll be here in this room. It's absolutely no cost. No, you don't have to put your credit card down to reserve the seat. Just please come. Just tell us, please tell us who's coming so we can order the food.
Which is now here.
Which is now here, by the way. Oh yeah. New spoiler alert. That's for the 26th, the food. That was just a teaser for it. No, so you can eat as soon as I'm done.
And
All right?
it'll be the 4th Monday of every month.
Yeah. So we're gonna run it on that cadence. So again, and we'll talk more in depth on that day about how the program works, and you'll get a chance to experience it. So if you think this would resonate for you, please take us up on this. It's a very valuable program, and we've had to subsidize the whole thing. But at the same time, if you know anyone that would benefit from a program like this, please ask them to come. Anyone that you recommend, we'll honor the free seat, and they can come and go through the whole training with as many people from the team they want, and they'll be able to get the benefit of the program.
I think we also agreed that for the existing tab members, the price would be reduced from the $395 to $300.
Yeah, the reduce, and we'll get into all that in more depth on that day. But if you are a tab member, you will pay the absolute lowest price. We're going to have a reduced rate for Morris County Chamber members, and then there'll be the regular retail rate. Sound good? Are there any questions before we wrap up? No? Whenever you're competing with the buffet, it's amazing how well I explain things when there's food at the back of the room. So folks, again, Happy New Year. I hope we get the chance to see each other during the course of the year. If there's anything that I can do, if you have any other questions, my contact information is on the sheet. I've got my card with me as well. Please enjoy lunch, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.